Hey guys, welcome to the Goodfellow Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Barone. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, if you like us, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. This way we can bring some more stories to you as well. Don't forget, we got the Patreon channel for some movie reviews and some other content that we have. And also, we at the Goodfellow memorabilia with the store, with the shirts, to this, to that. Everything's nice. So you might want to take a mug, and when you watch my show, give me a toast. And it better be espresso with the Sambuca in it. Anyways, listen, today we're going to talk about some mafia conspiracy stories, okay? My assistant has a list of certain things, and I'll tell you about what I know, what I don't know, and maybe it's true or maybe it's not. So without further ado, what do we got?
We'll start with the first conspiracy theory, which is that the mafia helped get JFK elected, and then when JFK cracked down on the mob, they helped kill him.
uh, the first part, I definitely know that's true. They did help get JFK elected. Matter of fact, everybody knows Frank Sinatra and his family. Actually, his mother's side was connected, but they did help get him elected.
In what ways did they help him get elected?
Well, there was like anybody else. It's like you know a lot of people in your neighborhoods. If you're connected to certain groups like Italian American Club or whatever. If you had a bingo club at night, or you knew people in churches, it was easy back then to just go there and say, "Hey, listen, vote for this guy." And then if you didn't, some people would say, "You better vote for this guy." But anyway, yeah, they just did more rallying for him. In other words, they rallied for him, like how like they have people have all the offices, and they start flyers and everything. Well, back in those days, it was more word of mouth and stuff like that, and it was easier. Did they actually have John F. Kennedy killed? I don't know about that. I believe I really think our government is the one who actually killed him. Did they have help? I know it wasn't that guy that they said who killed him. I forget his name.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, Lee Harvey. Yeah, he didn't kill him, but definitely it was. Listen, don't forget, at one time they asked Lucky Luciano to go to kill Mussolini, to go to Italy and kill Mussolini for them, because of the ports and everything that was going on. So they actually asked the mafia to help guard the ports back in those days too. So it wasn't unlikely to have the government that we all think is, hey, they asked the wise guys to do a lot of stuff for them too back in those days. So I think part of it's true. The second part could be very well true too.
All right, on to the next.
Okay.
Uh, this next one is that Jimmy Hoffa was killed by the mob. And for those who don't know, who is Jimmy Hoffa?
Jimmy Hoffa was the head of the trucking union, trucking association, the Teamsters. He was more of a figurehead, but he also did have a lot of power because he got a lot of stuff for the truckers between the unions and stuff like that. Did he have mob ties? Yes, he did. Did the mob have to take him out? Yes, they did.
So it's true.
Yeah, it's true. They took him out for various reasons. I believe sometimes you get a little too big for your britches. Sometimes you got to take a step back. Back in those days, the mob didn't trust anybody, which they still don't. But yeah, that part is true. Where he was buried, where his body is still to this day, I don't know. I have no idea. So, but anyway, that's true.
All right, the CIA. Here's the next one. The
Okay.
CIA and the mafia teamed up to kill Castro.
Yeah, that wouldn't. I don't know if that's true or not. That wouldn't surprise me if they did, but I don't know if it's true or not. Look. I know about the Bay of Pigs. Everybody knows about that. That was a secret thing. Why they just never went in there and just took over Cuba anyway? The United States. It's 80 miles from the shores of Florida. What's the difference? Take the place over. But I don't think that's true as far as the mafia is there. I mean, I knew the mafia was involved in there. Did they want to take out Castro at that time? I don't know if they were as powerful as that. So I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
All right, on to the next.
Yep.
The mob was involved in the 9/11 cleanup and helped cover up evidence.
Is that really true or not? I don't know. the 9/11 thing, I think, was definitely something was orchestrated about that. I don't trust anything what this government's doing, and I don't trust anything about definitely in no other countries as well. Were they covering up anything in the cleanup? I don't know. I mean, there's so many things coming out now about why did the guy get insurance for his buildings, like only a few weeks before the plane crashed in there and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah, and he made sure to include a specialty clause like
yeah,
for acts of terrorism, and then
yes,
he also made each act of terrorism a separate claim.
yes,
So each plane was a separate claim
yep.
for the insurance.
And he wound up with a lot of money. I tell you the truth, I wish I knew where he lived. But anyway, no, I'm only kidding. That's the old Joe. But anyway, yeah, was there any mob, maybe on a cleanup involved in there? Hey, who knows? Maybe the dumpsters, maybe where they had to take the trash. That very well could be, but you don't really hear much about that. That was just more about the conspiracy and theory like that. And like you said, there's a lot of stuff now that's coming out to prove it.
The next one is the Vatican Bank was laundering mafia money.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. The Vatican, they're loaded with tons and tons of money. They got so many. There's more secrets in the Vatican. Listen, if they ever really exposed the Vatican and they ever really came out with what they got in their basement, forget about it. Never mind about bodies being buried in somebody else's basement or a chunk of money's in somebody else's basement. I would never trust the Vatican. They're more crooked than anybody and they tell more lies than anybody else. Do they probably launder money for them? Oh, absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Just because the guy got the robe on or he wears a cross or he prays or he makes a sign of the cross, nah, I wouldn't trust the priest as far as I could throw him. So that, do I know for sure? No, but yeah, I could definitely say that that's probably true.
The next one is that the FBI used the mafia to take down other gangs.
Probably. They still do that to this day. I mean, look, we were talking a while ago about how does the FBI flip people? Look how they flipped me. They told me that the mafia killed my father. They flip other guys by saying we're going to arrest your wife or your brother or your father or whatever else like that. We have evidence there, but if you cooperate, this and that. Regular police do the same thing too. That are on the take. If anybody's seen Scarface back in the days with Al Pacino, they says, look, he says, we kick up this money and this and that, and we start taking rival gangs out of your way and this and that. So yeah, it's not a surprise. Listen, FBI, yeah, I don't trust them in one bit. So I'd say that's true. Hey guys, I apologize for the interruption, but I got to thank my guys from Source CBD. Today's episode is only because of them. They have tropical ointments, gummies, tinctures, and much, much more. This is good for joint pain, stress relief, which is one of the reasons why I take it, muscle recovery, everything. Believe it or not, they even have stuff for the dogs, if you believe it. Listen, you guys want to try it, go to sourcecbdhemp.com and try it. And don't forget to mention Goodfellows for a 20% discount. Thanks again for tuning in. And this is, oh my goodness, this is delicious. Thanks, guys.
True. Next one is that Whitey Bulier was a government-protected killer. And for those who don't know, just tell them who Whitey Bulier is.
So Whitey Bulier was the boss in Boston. What was the name of that gang he was in? What the heck was it? It'll come to me in a second, but it was kind of a cool name too. The son of a gun. But yeah, of course, the FBI protected him. He had more bodies under his belt. He had carte blanche, like with the FBI. Just like they said that Greg Scarpa had the same thing. He was able to operate and do anything he wanted. That's why it really used to get to me about. I had to be careful what I did. All of a sudden, you want information, you want this, you want that, and then I got to be careful of how I get it. You can't. First of all, if anybody knows anything, you're working undercover. You have to still be who you are undercover. You can't not get the information, and the two things are conflict, but this is how the FBI wants to protect themselves. That's why we say we didn't tell them to do that. Okay, whatever. But yes, the Something Hill Gang, it was called.
Okay.
Yes, I forget what the Something Hill Gang, but yeah, definitely he was protected. That's why they killed him. You think, why would you put Whitey Bulger, after all the years he was on the run, why you put him in population? He should have been in the hole. So you tell me. Yeah, no, he was protected big time.
Next one is that the mafia controlled Hollywood from the 70s to the 90s.
Maybe even before that. I think even before the '70s, to be quite honest with you. This is the way it was back then. Just like they controlled boxing, anything that's lucrative, that's going to be with money. They knew people who were on drugs. Look what they did back in. They even showed that in The Godfather. You remember when Tom Hagen went to to see that guy that he wanted, Johnny whatever. This guy's got someone to part in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they've had that. Listen, the mafia is going to have their hands in anything that's lucrative to make money, whether they feeding the girl junk or drugs, or they knew somebody was doing something and they wanted to get somebody that's in there and a part in the movie. They definitely, and I think it was before that. So yes, that's true too.
Next one is that Las Vegas was built as a CIA mafia operation in order to launder money from covert operations and wars abroad.
I've never heard that before. Of course, we all know the one that Benny Siegel, was going to build the Flamingo out there back then. I believe he did really start like that, have that envision like that. But is that true or not? I have no idea. Never heard that before. Never heard that.
The next one is John Gotti was set up by the feds or betrayed internally.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. There was people jealous of him, probably. Of course, the feds. We all know about how they got Willie Boy Johnson killed. The U.S. attorney or the assistant U.S. attorney outed him as a snitch, and that was that guy that was close to John Gotti. And yeah, they can get you killed. They can do anything they want. They can listen. Let's say I get arrested. I never testified, which I never did, or I never gave information, whatever. How about they just put the word out and keep me in hold, and they say I'm a snitch, I'm a rat. Everybody's going to run for their life. They use you. They can do anything they want.
Right.
These people are in power, bro. Look, if I had 20, 30, 40, $100 million, the government's still got billions, trillions. So it doesn't matter how much money I got. They can do anything they want. So yeah, absolutely. And in John's organization, there was probably people that hated him, jealous of him, but they feared him. So that was the thing. Listen, Machiavelli, that he said the same thing too. You're better off being feared than loved, and that's it. And so they were afraid of John, and they should have been.
Louis Caspin, we had him on, and he said that it was somebody who was really close to John who planted the wire,
right,
knew about the wire and didn't say anything.
Of course.
Wiretap.
Yeah, and he ought to know. So I mean, look, the bottom line, like I say, it's horrible. They want to take him down. They get jealous. You know what I mean? So.
Next one is that Frank Sinatra was a mob courier and ultimately used for political influence.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, he was connected to Sam Giancana back in those days, but the connection came from his mother's side, I believe. His mother knew some people or whatever, or a mother's family or something like that. But was he a courier? Did he do anything for the mob? Maybe. But, he never flaunted it. He was a singer, an actor. If he had problems, I guess he could always run to them. But, I don't know if he really actually worked for them or anything like that. But, yeah, he had definitely mob connections, without a doubt.
The next one's the Mafia helped silence Marilyn Monroe. It says here she was romantically linked to both John and Robert Kennedy. Some believe she was silenced because she knew too much, including details about mob government collusion, and it was about to go public.
Well, she had problems, obviously. She actually was with Joe DiMaggio too, I think, right? Not Joe DiMaggio, Joey. She was married to the baseball player. He was famous, and he actually paid for her funeral, even though they were divorced. But listen, did she know things? She was with the Kennedys. Did they talk in front of her or not? I don't know. Could she hurt them? Probably. she probably could have hurt them. But back in those days, was it a mob guy or anything? It's possible. I think she died with they gave her an enema or killed her or something like that.
Well, the Kennedys were definitely involved with.
Oh yeah, both the
That's, like,
brothers. Yeah,
confirmed.
both the
So
brothers.
it could be possible.
Without a doubt, they gave her like a suppository, something like that. They killed her like that. It's horrible that she died like that too. She came from nothing, and but she had a lot of her own Norma Jean. She had her own personal demons that she fought with and stuff, and unfortunately, it caught up with her.
The next one is Paul Castellano's murder was an inside job approved by the government.
I don't know if it was approved by the government, but it was definitely an inside job. I mean, Gotti, they set it up themselves. I don't think Gotti was with the government. I don't think he would talk with them. So I don't believe. I know he didn't have the green light because they tried to kill him for killing Paul. So no, that was an inside thing. But it was John that took him out. I mean, good for that he did. I'm glad he did. A lot of people were happy about that.
Says here the feds encouraged Gotti's hit on Castellano because Castellano had a lot of sensitive info on politicians and law enforcement, and killing him would obviously protect those groups.
Well, I know that he was. They were definitely. I think Paul was going to cooperate with the government if he got arrested by them. That I do believe too. He had his lawyer was my father's lawyer too, Jimmy LaRosa, was a very famous, very big attorney. Jimmy LaRusso, I believe his name was. But yeah, I believe he was probably he would cooperate. I think he talked to his maid that he was fooling around with too. But I don't know if that came out afterwards. But I don't think the government had anything to do with that. My opinion.
Next one is Lucky Luciano cut a secret deal with the U.S. Navy, and the theory goes that Luciano was released from prison during World War II after allegedly helping the U.S. secure the docks from sabotage and aiding intelligence in Sicily. Some believe he remained an asset long after that, though.
Look, Lucky Luciano was a businessman, and he was also a killer. They did heroin. They sold a lot of that stuff back in those days. Did he protect the docks? Yes. I think they even wanted him to go back to kill Mussolini in Italy too. Was he still working with the government at that time? I don't know. He might have had still, maybe he could have still talked to them about anything. But listen, he was a businessman. So I believe that's most of that is true. Yeah, because he was smart. He was smart like that.
Next one is the Mafia
Before you say anything, I apologize for interrupting. Sometimes you got to work with some people you don't like, or you don't care for, in order to get certain things done. And I think that Lucky was more business orientated that way. So I apologize for that. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
The next one is that the Mafia controlled the New York garbage industry for decades with political help. And then it says, for decades, the Mafia ran the sanitation racket in New York City, and politicians looked the other way because of kickbacks, city contracts, and violent control made it $1 billion hidden empire.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Listen, the guy in suburban carting, Tommy, he was running suburban carting in Mamaroneck. He was connected up to wazoo. I mean, listen, the bottom line is it's lucrative business. Did some politicians look the other way? Hell yeah. All these politicians, how did they get rich? They're all rich. They own houses. They own mansions. They own property. How do you think they got rich? You think they made all their money making $200,000 a year? They got inside information on the stock markets, the Bitcoin now, all this kinds of stuff. You think nobody ever kicked anything up to them? Come on. Look at the cop that stole Dominick's property, my friend Dominick Cicale from Mafia Roundtable. Look how he stole Dominick's property. He was a cop. He bought it for pennies on the dollar. Stole it. Come on. Nah, they're all crooked. Nobody says anything because how are you going to prove all of this or prove all of that? I think Dominick does have proof, though, on that. But they're all up to no good. The only thing is they're on top of the hill and we're in the bottom. And so, you know what it's like to try to show everybody the truth about what's really going on. And people say, "Oh, you got conspiracy theories, this and that." Nah, it's all true. Believe it.
So this one's true.
Yes. Sorry about that. It's just my seat. Yeah, yeah, it's all true. Absolutely. So, but go ahead.
Next one is the Mafia fixed boxing matches and controlled champions.
Oh, hell yeah, all the time. Listen, a lot of times there's so many ways to get involved. First of all, Don King he knew all the wise guys, you know. Bets are taken. There's so much money to be made there. Then don't forget, some of the fighters, maybe they don't want to fight anymore. Maybe they got brain damage. Maybe somebody's involved with them in their camp. So there's so much money to be made there with the in there. A guy's looking to take a dive or whatever. He's almost at the end of his career, or maybe he's trying to make a career. Somebody in his camp knows a wise guy. Listen, they were controlling that for years and years and years. I don't know if they still can do it as easily, but it was going on for so many years. Forget about it.
How do they convince boxers to work with them? Like, is it like threatening, or is it like, we'll pay you more than they were going to pay you if you won because of the bets that they're going to be cashing out on?
It's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question, because it all depends. Look, sometimes the guy's family might be in trouble with something. Maybe he's got a problem with his brother or sister. Maybe they're on drugs. Maybe they need this. Maybe they need that. Maybe he's punchy. Maybe it's not even just him. Maybe it's his manager. Maybe he doesn't want to fight the guy in there. Maybe he wants to kill the guy in there. You don't know. There's all different ways to approach a situation.
So they target whatever vulnerabilities might be on the table.
Well, yeah, it all depends. Like I said, maybe he spent all his money and he needs money now to still live in the mansion that he's living in. All kinds of different ways. A real wise guy will be able to notice and find out. And then don't forget, like I said, maybe his manager knows a wise guy and says, "Listen, we're doing really bad," or "I need some money," or whatever. So many ways to talk to the wise guys and get a hold of it. And you come with an idea to a wise guy, and then the wise guy expands it, and just makes it even more lucrative. Well, mainly for him, but you know what I'm saying. So.
Next one is Joe Colombo's public campaign got him killed by the government or by the mob.
By the mob. I mean, he was never supposed to be out there saying that, and talking about the mafia and saying there's no this, there's no that. Yeah, he got himself killed by that. Yeah, by doing that. That's 100% true.
What was his public campaign? What do they mean by that?
He said there was no mafia. I'm not with an organization and all of that kind of stuff. And he had sort of the right idea, but it was the wrong time and stuff like that, and they whacked him. I think even Michael Francis was there when he got shot.
Wow.
Yeah, in the crowd, yeah. Excuse me.
Next one is Mafia infiltrated the NYPD and controlled crime investigations during the 70s to 90s.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, because there's money. In the 70s, what was a guy making? You had everybody knows about Esposito, the two mob cops that were around. They started off around in that era too, so they were on the take. So let's face it, yeah. When you saw that movie, what's his name, Denzel Washington, where he was the drug kingpin too, and it was with Russell Crowe, and they found 900. Let's just round it off. It was $1 million in a guy's trunk in the 70s. You got $1 million in a trunk. You that's it. They turned it in. Nobody does that, but this cop did. And the bottom line is everybody was pretty much just out for the dollar, because look, you're never going to get rid of crime. It's fair to say, right? Everybody knows you're never going to get rid of crime. You're never going to get rid of drugs. You're never going to get rid of none of that stuff. So most smart people will say, hey, listen, if I turn a blind eye, or I take an envelope on the side just to look the other way, or, who cares? Really, who cares? It's not going to stop. And that's the way it goes. So, yeah, I would believe that too.
Next one is Sammy Gravano's deal with the government was bigger than anybody knew, and the theory entails that some believe that Sammy Gravano had way more leverage than just taking down Gotti. that he fed them information about multiple mafia families, FBI agents, and even corrupt city officials.
Probably. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. Absolutely. He didn't just take down guys in the Gambino family. I believe he took down from other families too. They got him just to take down Gotti. Like I said, maybe he did have more information than what he said, but if it was just to take down Gotti and they let him roam the streets like it is nothing, this goes to show you how really the government really is. You know what I mean? Bad. Bad.
Next one is the mafia took control of unions to launder political money.
I don't know if it's political money, but they took control of the unions. You had to. Look, I was in the carpenters union. I was paying dues to somebody, but I don't know where it went. But when I told them I worked for the carpenters union, there was no record of me. And when I got pinched, I said, "Yeah, I got a job."
It says here that they used the unions to funnel money. They would give the union money to give to politicians and funnel it through that way, so it didn't look like they were giving to them directly.
Well, it could be that. It would also funnel money through anything. Any legitimate businesses, money gets funneled through it all the time. But there's so many legal ways to funnel the money. It doesn't matter. But now everybody's gonna do it for a price. It's like, you remember Scarface when that movie was, they were bringing bags and bundles of money to the bank, and they were looking, and he says, "Look, we got to raise a little prices on you because it's a little harder for us to funnel the money." It's the same thing, same shit.
Here's an interesting one. The mafia controlled gay nightclubs in New York City, and they used them to blackmail politicians.
Well, of course, there's a lot of gay people out there, men, women, it doesn't matter. They're going to catch them in there, maybe film them, maybe set them up with a gay liaison for that evening, and then bring them to an apartment where they have a camera and stuff like that hidden and all of that. Of course, you need leverage. Everything's about leverage. You know what I mean? And so you remember that time in The Godfather when the guy was with the hooker? I think, and he killed her there, and then Tom Hagen went over there. Senator Geary, he was giving him a hard time about going into Las Vegas, and he said, "Listen, this woman has no living relatives. She's by herself. This establishment is owned by my brother. Don't worry, we get you out of this. Nobody's got to know nothing. Just remember that you owe Michael Corleone a favor." There it is. There's the leverage. It's like anything else, and I think hookers are the best thing in the world. I mean, think about it. You got it, you sell it, and you still got it.
Here's one that you probably saw firsthand.
Okay.
The theory is the mafia had its own intelligence organization within American prisons.
Say that again.
The mafia had its own intelligence organization within American prisons, like their own CIA, basically.
Oh yeah, of course. They knew what was going on. That's why you could still get killed in prison still to this day too. And a lot of people, they'll also know if somebody's cooperating or not. The mafia's reach is almost everything's excuse me. It's almost unlimited. As long as you got money and power, you could do anything you want. You could find out anything you want. It's just the way it is.
Here's the last one of the day here.
Okay.
The mafia infiltration of the music industry in the 60s to 80s. It says that the mafia allegedly extorted record labels, owned jukebox companies, and used threats to influence chart rankings, club DJs, and artists' careers.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's like the entertainment business that we were just talking about before. The music industry is no different. Anyways, no more questions, right? That was good.
That was the last one.
We appreciate you tuning in. Thanks again for all my loyal fans and all the great comments you send. Don't forget, check out everything. Don't forget about my dear friend Charlie Buono from Crime to Christ, okay? This is a good read, guys. So you guys want to order it, just order it from here. And Charlie told me he'll send as many copies as we want. Peace and love to everybody. Talk to you soon and see you again on the Goodfellow Podcast.